The Ibiza Prophecy Chapter 1, The Calling. Lena sat at her desk in her small London flat, staring at the city lights beyond the window. She had a good job, a comfortable life by any standard, but something felt deeply off. She had been chasing goals set by others, ticking off boxes, and still, there was a gnawing emptiness within her. The world outside was busy, loud, and exciting, yet her spirit felt quiet and lost. It was as if the voice inside her, the one she'd forgotten how to listen to, was calling for something more. A deep yearning pulled at her, a soft whisper she could no longer ignore. One evening, while scrolling mindlessly, something clicked. Ibiza, the place she'd only associated with parties and wild nights, was now calling her in a way she had never expected. There was something mystical, spiritual about it, and she knew, deep down, that this was where her journey had to begin. She booked her ticket without a second thought. Chapter 2, The Arrival. The warm Mediterranean air enveloped her as she stepped off the plane. Ibiza's energy was palpable, an almost tangible force that made Lena's heart race. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. The island's landscape was breathtaking, stark cliffs kissed by turquoise waters, ancient olive trees, and the bright sun casting a golden hue over everything. Lena had arranged to stay at a retreat, one nestled in the hills near the quiet village of St. Joan. The place was known not for its luxury, but for its connection to the island's spiritual roots. The retreat promised silence, meditation, and guidance. But what Lena didn't know was that the real guide she was about to meet was herself. Upon arriving at the retreat, she was greeted by an older woman named Marisol, whose presence radiated a calming warmth. With her long silver hair and soft eyes, Marisol seemed to see beyond the surface, and Lena felt both exposed and safe in her company. "You've come for answers," Marisol said, her voice like the sea lapping at the shore. "But you already hold them, Lena. The island will show you what you've forgotten." Lena nodded, not fully understanding but knowing she was exactly where she needed to be. Chapter 3, The first lesson. The first few days passed slowly. Each morning, Lena joined the others at the retreat for silent meditation. But instead of peace, Lena found herself restless, her thoughts swirling endlessly. On the third morning, after another failed attempt to quiet her mind, she decided to take a walk. The island stretched out before her like an untold story, and Lena felt compelled to explore it. She wandered down a narrow path that led her to a hidden cove. The waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, and Lena sat down on the warm sand, watching the horizon. As she sat, a young man appeared, walking along the shore. He had an air of simplicity about him, dressed in loose linen with a small bag slung over his shoulder. His name was Matteo, and when he noticed Lena, he approached her with a knowing smile. "You're searching for something," he said, without a hint of hesitation. Lena was taken aback by his directness but nodded. "I came here to find myself, to understand who I am." Matteo sat beside her and gazed at the horizon. "This island is full of secrets, but it won't give you what you already possess. You see, the journey to find yourself isn't about discovering something new. It's about remembering what's always been within you. Sometimes, we get lost in the noise, and we forget our own truth." Lena felt a rush of emotion rise in her chest. "But how do I remember?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Matteo smiled softly. "The answers come in silence, and stillness. Trust the process. Let the island's energy guide you. But remember, you already have everything you need." Chapter 4, The Island's Energy. Lena took Matteo's words to heart. Over the next few days, she spent more time in nature, wandering through Ibiza's rugged terrain. She found herself drawn to the ancient olive groves, their twisted trunks seeming to hold stories of the earth itself. There was something powerful in the silence of the trees, a deep wisdom that spoke to her in ways she couldn't quite articulate. One afternoon, she ventured up to the cliffs that overlooked the sea. As she stood at the edge, the wind whipping through her hair, she felt a deep connection to the island, to herself. There was no need for words. In that moment, she felt the energy of the earth, the sky, and the sea pulsing through her body. Closing her eyes, she took a deep breath. The worries she had carried with her, the need for validation, the pressure to be more, do more, achieve more, began to dissolve. The island was teaching her that she was enough, just as she was. For the first time in her life, she felt whole. Chapter 5, The encounter. As days turned into weeks, Lena became more in tune with the island's rhythms. Each sunrise brought a new sense of clarity, each sunset a deeper understanding. One evening, as she walked back from the cliffs, she encountered an elderly man sitting by the roadside, playing a soft melody on a guitar. His name was Santiago, and his weathered face and gentle demeanor made him seem like a part of the landscape itself. "Why do you walk alone, young one?" he asked as she approached. "I'm searching for myself," Lena replied, her voice steady. Santiago chuckled, a deep, knowing sound. "Ah, the greatest journey of all! But tell me, where do you think you've gone?" Lena frowned. "I don't know. I've been living a life that doesn't feel like mine, and I thought coming here would help me find who I'm supposed to be." Santiago set his guitar down and looked at her, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. "You are not supposed to be anything other than who you already are. You've been chasing an image, a dream of yourself, when in truth, you have always been whole. The island doesn't give you answers, it simply reminds you of the truth you've buried." His words struck something deep within her. Could it really be that simple? Could she have been running from herself all along? Chapter 6, The Vision. That night, Lena had a dream. She stood in the same cove where she had first met Matteo, but this time, the sea was calm, and the sky was filled with stars. In the distance, she saw a small, glowing figure, herself as a child. The child walked up to her, and without a word, handed Lena a small, smooth stone. On the stone was a symbol, a spiral, ancient and infinite. Lena woke with a start, her heart pounding. The dream felt more real than any she had ever experienced. She knew the spiral was important, a symbol of the journey inward. The answers were within her, spiraling through her life, her experiences, her fears, and her joys. The next morning, Lena went to Marisol and shared her dream. Marisol smiled, her eyes soft with understanding. "The spiral represents the journey inward, Lena. The farther we travel into ourselves, the more we realize we've always had what we needed. You are not separate from the world, from the island, from your own truth. You are connected to it all. Your dream was a gift, a reminder that your soul knows the way." Chapter 7, The Realization. Lena spent the next days in deep reflection, no longer seeking answers from the outside. She began to trust her inner voice, the one she had silenced for so long. She realized that her entire life had been a series of distractions, a quest for external validation, when the peace she craved was always within her. On her final day on the island, she returned to the cliffs where her journey had begun. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the sea. As Lena stood there, she felt a deep sense of peace settle over her. The island had done its work, not by giving her something new, but by helping her remember what she had forgotten. She had always been enough. She had always had the strength, the wisdom, and the love within her. Ibiza had simply shown her the way back to herself. Chapter 8, The Return. When Lena returned to London, everything seemed the same on the outside, the buildings, the people, the noise. But she was different. She no longer sought approval or chased after goals that weren't her own. She lived from a place of inner truth, guided by the peace she had found within herself. The island had given her the greatest gift of all, the realization that she had always possessed everything she needed. And as she moved through her life with a newfound sense of purpose, Lena smiled, knowing that no matter where she was, the journey inward would continue. She had found her true self, and she knew now that she would never lose it again. The end. 4-0